So again, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on from which place you have joined for this webinar, which is about Salesforce Classic to Lightning migration and how we are going to mitigate the risks involved in this migration and what things we should take care of when we are migrating. So we are going to talk about in the subsequent slides, but before we actually start on these slides, I just want to take a poll from everyone. Just launch this poll so that you can see. So the poll is, are you planning to migrate to Lightning? So let's give it another 30 seconds for everyone to answer it. Okay, that's good. So we have got around 90% people who say that they plan to migrate to Lightning. So that's good. I will end the poll here. And let's move on. So before we start talking about the migration process, I think it's important to learn about what benefits do we get from Lightning, right? So there are many benefits, but these are the top 5 which I think are very important and which you should understand. So number 1 is obviously, as everyone you might be knowing, that Lightning is more about the user experience, the user interface. So the Lightning is mobile compatible. It has got a better look and feel on the screens, and obviously better user experience matters a lot, right? So obviously, first point, if you're looking for a better user experience, so and for mobile compatibility, you need to switch to Lightning. So that is one of the main advantages of moving to Lightning. Now, Lightning, if you might be knowing or not knowing, is all based on components, right? So you have different components for Lightning, which you can actually drop in and pick up. So it's a component-based architecture, which makes it more flexible, right? You can have components for different stuff, which can be dragged and dropped. So it's a component-based architecture, which obviously makes it faster. Okay, so the development is faster. It's component-based, so the architecture is very neat and clean. You have got enhanced security because since you have got components and they have different security levels, so one component cannot see what is happening in another component. So you have got that lock in between the components, which is what we call as locker architecture, right? Which enhances the security of your apps. So the app development is fast, it has a great user experience, and the security aspect has also been taken care of. Now, during a sales process, right, it's you always keep on adding team members to your team. And to determine that they get up to speed, you need to train them, right? You need to train them on the sales process they need to follow, the workflow they need to follow. And for that, Lightning comes up with something called Sales Path, which is actually a workflow which you can design for your sales process flow. And that sales process flow can be utilized by your new team members. So they would be in sync, right? So it optimizes the sales process through the path which actually Lightning provides. And since Lightning is, as I told you, is component based, right? You can have third-party integrations very easily, right? So it enhances your third-party integrations. So these are the 5 key benefits which we think are very important. If you're planning to move to Lightning, these are the 5 things that Lightning brings to the plate and to the horizon. And if you're looking for all of these 5 features, Lightning is the way to go, right? But let's understand before we move to the migration on what your migration framework looks like, or what are the steps that you should take to approach that process. Now, we determine, and I think this is what Salesforce also agrees, we should have the migration process should involve 3 phases, right? First should be your discovery phase, and then it should be a rollout phase, and then the optimize phase. Now, what is discovery phase? We will learn more about it in detail in the subsequent slides. But as the word suggests, it's more about discovering on the benefits of the Lightning experience, right? You should talk to your business. You should discover that these are the 5 or 4 things that I want in my org, and Lightning provides it. So maybe you can do a cost benefit analysis, and that requires time and a buy-in from your business before you move ahead. So first is your discovery phase to understand whether you actually want to move to Lightning or you don't want to do it, right? Whether it's a good business decision to do it, or maybe your business does not want to do it, right? Once you have decided that you want to go with the Lightning, then obviously everything should have a plan, right? It should have a rollout plan. And the rollout plan has to be in phases. You cannot just move the entire stuff to Lightning in one go. You have to define these steps. You have to take those steps, make a rollout plan, and then you can work on that plan to go ahead. And third is obviously your optimize phase. And optimize phase is generally an adoption phase, right? Because you are moving to Lightning for your actual users. All right. And if you're trying to move to Lightning for your actual users, right, you should make sure that for the users who are there on the system are kept updated and they start using the new Lightning platform. If they don't start using the new Lightning platform, then whole of the effort of moving to Lightning, the cost is of no use, right? So adoption has to be there. And that comes in the optimize phase. You have to make sure that you understand their pain areas. You make the Lightning experience as you told them it would be, and make sure that they use the system. Now let's go through in detail through all of these phases. I think I've got one question in the chat. Let me see what it is. And I'll answer it here. Is there a choice not to go to the Lightning? I thought the Classic won't be supported at some point. That is right. Salesforce has not decided yet, but maybe in subsequent years, the Classic support would not be there and you might have to move to Lightning, right? But it's not the case right now, right? You still have that option to remain at Classic. But at this point of time, we don't know like when the Classic support would actually go, right? But even if you're moving to Lightning, right, and you plan to do it, the next few slides would actually tell you the migration process on what things you should take care of while moving to Lightning. Hope that answers that question. So let's move to the discovery phase. Okay. So what do you do in a discovery phase? What you do in the discovery phase is evaluate the Lightning benefits, right? So some of the benefits I told you in the first slide, where it has faster app development, it has more security, it has got a better integration process, and obviously it has got better security. So you need to understand why are you planning to move to Lightning, right? What are the benefits your business sees in moving the users to Lightning? Do you want to enhance the user experience, or do you want to enhance the security, or maybe a combination of everything, right? So maybe evaluate the benefits, right? Understand whether your existing org is ready to move to migration, and you can do that through a Salesforce Lightning Readiness tool, right, which is available in Salesforce. You just have to run that, and it will actually give you a report on whether your existing org is actually Lightning ready or not, and if not, what are the things you need to do to make it Lightning ready. Okay, so evaluate that Lightning benefits and readiness. Once you have done that, plan your rollout with the business, make a plan on step one, what users you are going to migrate in phase one, what users you are going to migrate in phase two, because you will have a set of users. And we propose that a rollout plan should be there, and it should be agreed with the business, and all the users should be actually involved in that rollout plan. And once you have got that rollout plan ready, get a buy-in from the stakeholders, because that is very necessary. If the stakeholders are not in sync with the migration process, it's a complete waste of time for you, right? You are going to evaluate stuff, spend time on it, maybe do a rollout plan. But since the business users or the stakeholders for which you are actually doing it are not in sync, there is no point in doing the migration activity. Now, what is involved in the evaluating benefits and readiness, right? So what do we do in that stage? Now, as I told you, you need to understand why your company wants to move to Lightning, right? So you have to make a use case where you list down all the Lightning features, right? And how are they going to drive your business goals? What is the business looking for? Are they looking for the users to have a better user experience? Or are they looking for faster app development? Or is your business looking for any third-party integrations which are much easier to do in Lightning than in Classic, right? Now, once you have done that, you have defined the benefits and aligned them with the business goals, right? You should understand what efforts are required to do that change, okay? So you should analyze how well your org is prepared for the transition to Lightning experience, right? You should know what are the changes that needs to be done, right? Write down all these steps that need to be done to prepare for that change. Because unless you know what needs to be changed, there is no point in moving ahead, right? Now, once you have got all these steps listed down, that these are the 5 steps or these are the 6 steps that I have to do to prepare for change, then the actual thing comes, which is about the cost, right? And cost cannot be evaluated unless you know what needs to be changed. Are there some custom fields that need to be changed first? Is my system actually ready for Lightning, right? So you need to understand what work is required to prepare for change. And I would suggest that if you don't have an expert in your team who can do that work required, maybe talk to some third-party consultants, take an advice from them, and get those kind of estimates from them, because those are the guys who will be the experts on migration to Lightning. They might have got down all those steps written. They might evaluate your org, right? Make sure that your org is ready to move to Lightning and come up with a plan. And then you can evaluate cost based on that, because that cost is something which your business has to approve, right? So make a plan, present it to the business, and then maybe at that point of time, your organization can also do a cost benefit analysis and see if these things work for you. So this is something which you need to do in the evaluation phase, which is a part of the discovery phase. I think once you have done that, then you know what work is involved, right? Because you have, I think I have a question again. Let's look at this question. Will there be a cost for the non-profit users? Yes, there will be a cost for the non-profit users. Okay. Though it would be a bit less, but there would be a cost involved, because you need to migrate to Lightning. And for that, you need to do a specific set of activities which you have to plan, right? So Lightning does not automatically happen with a click of a button. You have to make sure that you have your plan ready, and that plan and those steps that you have written, right? They need effort and they need cost, right? So that cost may vary depending on how your code is written in the Classic or how much customized code do you have. So that is, I think, answers that question. So obviously there is a cost involved, and that cost will come from the plan or the steps. So that is why I'm saying that if you don't have an expert in your team, go for a third-party consultant and get these steps out written for you, and get the cost from him, right? And present it to your business. Now, coming back to the rollout plan, you need to make a rollout plan in the sense that how many phases will you do it? So if your rollout plan comes out that you will need another 3 months or 4 months to get migrated everyone to Lightning, you need to define, right, that phase one will have these many steps, phase two will have these many steps, right? And it's important to engage the users in all these phases. Make sure that the people for whom you are actually doing this migration, they are involved with you in every stage of your rollout, right? So plan them right ahead of the migration process. You should know, like, my sales team, this is the group which is going to test this phase for me. My marketing team is going to test phase two for me, right? So keep them involved, right? So because unless you keep them involved, they will not understand what Lightning benefits are they going to get, and they would not get involved in the new system, right? So it's important to make a rollout plan, do the rollout in phases, never do it in one go, right? Because every time you will have a rollout, right, you can have that test done from your users and you will have user feedback at every stage. So make a plan for a rollout and involve different users so that they understand what they are expecting at the end of the rollout. And I think once you have planned your rollout, obviously it costs money, right? So you have to take a consensus on the business goals and technical requirements from the stakeholders, right? You have to take a green light on the rollout plan because they are the ones who are going to approve the budget. They are the ones who are going to finance that whole migration process, right? So you have to take a green light on that rollout plan so that you are in sync with them, right? And as I told you earlier, build trust with your users because they are the ones who are going to use the new Lightning migration system. So they should be aware what is happening. And the only way to build trust with the users is getting them involved at every stage, right? Keep that communication flowing with them. Let them know what they're expecting at each stage. And that is the only way to build trust with them. And I can bet that if you do this process, it will be a smooth migration with users not just getting something out of the blue because they have been involved in the entire process and they know what to expect at the end of the migration process. Now, when we come out to the rollout phase, it's very important, as I told you, to identify the users, right, who are going to give you a feedback about how your rollout is going, right? So it's important to identify the champions who can actually validate what your rollout is, right? How the rollout is happening. And these are the guys who are going to give you a feedback on whether this is meeting their needs or that is not meeting their needs, right? And so it's important to keep the users engaged throughout, right? And then obviously, if there are kind of customizations that you have written in your existing classes, you need to adjust that as well, right? So now, how will you identify the champions to validate? Who is a champion? So it's easy, right? Champions would be someone from the business users group who are going to use the system. So choose someone who is actually vocal about the business processes, who understands that business process and is vocal about speaking to them, right? So he will let you know that this user interface is not looking good. This is what I expected, but this is not up to my expectation, right? So you will get instant feedback on what you are doing is right or wrong, right? And give him permissions to test the Lightning experience throughout, right? He will be your best judge to let you know whether your migration or the features that you are planning to do in your new system are up to the standards or not, right? And with that feedback, you will be in a better position to meet the business needs because ultimately business users are the one who are going to use the system, right? And if you get someone involved from the business team who is vocal, who will give you genuine feedback. No other best way to test your system than him testing it or she testing it, right? And if you think that there are some things that changes needs to be done, and that changes your rollout plan, because there will be some things that may take more time, right? And you may have to revise your plan. So always make sure that that revised rollout plan is shared with everyone so that everyone knows the new dates and you get a buy-in from the business that it's okay to be done, right? But never do a migration in one go. Do it in phases, involve the business users, identify those kind of people who can give you genuine feedback, whom we call champions, right? And uh, keep on doing the changes which they suggest at the time of rollout. Okay, that will actually help you in getting a system which has less issues. Now, how do you keep the other users engaged? So you have got the champion who is already validating your system, but there are other users as well, right, who would be using the system. Now, how to keep them engaged, right? So for that, you can create a forum, maybe Lightning migration forum, add different users from different groups into it. Maybe keep them engaged by running a campaign or letting them know what updates we are doing in the migration. Let them know that we have done this user experience stuff, right? Or this is what we have enhanced in terms of security. And this is the feature which we have added, which was not present in the classic one. Or this is the change that has happened, right? So if you keep them engaged, keep them informed, they will also feel that they're a part of the migration process, and they would be trained in those features, right? It would not be something new at the end of the migration that they will learn to know, because they are doing the journey with you. They are getting themselves trained, and you can run different training campaigns as well by telling them, like, you are a sales users, you want to see that lead. This is how you can see it, right? You are from the marketing team. You want to know about the information of your prospect. This is how you can do it. Okay, this is the feature which was not there in the classic before, and this is what is there in Lightning, right? So maintain that communication with the users and keep them trained continuously, right? They will feel privileged, they will feel attached to the entire migration process, and that is going to help you out, right? We have done that before, we have tested it in this fashion, and I can bet and tell you, like, this works, this really works. This is not something which is just for the sake of knowledge. I'm telling you, this is some practical stuff that we have done for a lot of our clients, and it helps us a lot. I think we have got one question in between. We were this. I think someone raised his hand. You can type your question here if you want in the chat, and I can answer it if required. Uh, Move on. So one of the very important things that is present in everyone's org and that we have noticed is customization. Customization is something that is not out of the box, right? That is not out of the box provided by Salesforce, but that is a workaround, or our, if you hired some third party consultant or there is a Salesforce admin in your org, he might have written some code which solves your purpose, right? So that is called customization, right? So if you're migrating from uh, classic to Lightning, you need to review all this customized code, because that might create problems. In classic, you have JavaScript buttons, but they are not supported in Lightning. Okay, so you need to find alternatives for that. So, and if you are using any third party app, if you're Salesforce or is integrated with any kind of third party app, maybe any kind of marketing app or any other app that you're using, you have to review that app and make sure that it's Lightning compatible. Because if it is not Lightning compatible, when you migrate to Lightning, right, your Salesforce org has moved to Lightning and it's Lightning compatible. But since it's integrated with other app exchange app, which is not Lightning compatible, it might cause problems. So it's always good. And this all you have to do it in the rollout plan or the rollout phase, right? You have to analyze and see what all third party integrations we are using. And you have to make sure that all the third party app exchange integrations that you're using are Lightning compatible. If they are not, maybe we need to look for other options. Then, very important point is there are a lot of hard code URLs that are present in your code. Make sure that all those URLs are identified, because once you migrate to Lightning, they will not work. So you may click on a link and it will not work. So make sure that you identify all the hard coding stuff in your code and replace that with appropriate references so that they are compatible in Lightning. And as I told you, JavaScript buttons don't work in Lightning. Make sure all your JavaScript buttons are identified and you have Lightning alternatives for that. So move all your actions in JavaScript button to Lightning alternatives. This is a very, very important step, and it's all technical stuff. So ask your person who is actually maintaining your org to look into all these three things, because most of the times we have experienced that when people move from Classic to Lightning, they miss all these things, and then it causes a problem in between. So if you have identified that, taken sufficient steps to avoid them, it would be a smooth migration. Now, I think once you have done all your hard work in rolling out stuff, you come to this phase where you need to measure the success of your migration, right? The actual users have to start using it, right? And as I told you, you have done a lot of hard work in moving from Classic to Lightning. You have done the discovery phase. You have made a rollout plan. You have stick to your plan. But then again, it's ultimately the success of your system depends on how users start using it, right? So to make their experience better, right, you have to measure the success of your Lightning migration. Now, how do you measure the success? You need to talk to the users. You need to see, like there are like maybe 200 users, right, who are actually using the org. Now, out of those 200 users, after the migration, how many are actually using the Lightning stuff? Are there just 50 or are there 100 or all 200, right? Because most of the times when people get a new system, they don't plan to use it, right? Because they find it new. And since you have not involved them in the transition phase, right? So it's a new system all to them. So it's always better to involve the users throughout the transition, right? And if the users are involved right through the transition phase, your success rate would always be high, right? So make sure that you train the users, you make them use the system by telling them the features, by helping them solve their problems, because it might be that when they get the new system, they don't know certain features about it, right? And if there is no one to support them at that point of time, they may lose interest in it. It's always better to plan ahead and provide live support to all these users, because they are the ones who are going to determine whether your system has been successful or not, right? So try to understand the user pain areas, deploy a team of people who can actually help them out, who understand their pain areas, and maybe try to resolve them and come up with a different release, right? So that the next group, right, when they are testing, they have a better user experience based on what previous user experience has been, right? And once you think that everyone has started using it, turn off Classic. because if you give them the option of using Classic, no one is going to move to Lightning. There would be 50% people who would be using Lightning. There would be 50% using Classic, and then your system will never go away. The old system will never go away, right? So it's always important to understand the success, make users aware about the Lightning experience, and then just turn off the old system, maybe after 3 months, 6 months, whatever the time duration you have decided to switch it off, right? So I think this is something that generally the organizations miss, and they think that Lightning is just a click of a button where you press migration and everything will be migrated. But it's more of analyzing it before doing a cost between analysis, and understanding if you actually need to move to Lightning or not, whether there are pain areas that you have that will actually help you in moving to Lightning, or it's just a waste of effort. And obviously, once you are doing that, always have a plan ready with a buy-in from the users, stick to it, and involve users at every stage, identify champions who can actually give you constructive feedback about the Lightning experience, and whether what is working, what is not working. And then make sure that once that things have been done, make that Lightning experience stick. Make sure that most of the users are using it, and within a month or a couple of months, or maybe next 3 months, you switch off the old system so that everyone is on Lightning and using it. So I think that there is much more that in terms of technicalities that you need to do. And for that, I would suggest that you always hire someone who has actually done that Lightning migration before, right? If there is someone in your team who has done it, well and good. But if you think that there is something that you need help for, always go for it, because Lightning is a process. Lightning migration is a process that needs a lot of expertise and should be done by an expert team. So I think this is what we have for today's webinar. It was more about understanding what steps we should take and what things we should follow for the Lightning migration. And we at Aplusify always give these kind of educational webinars, and we have done this Lightning migration framework for a lot of our clients. And all these slides are based on our previous knowledge that we have gathered and the issues that we have faced. And if there is anything that you require our help for in terms of guidance, in terms of consultation, you can always mail us at vcare@aplusify.com. And obviously, the recording for this webinar will be emailed to you along with this presentation. But if there are any last minute questions you have, you can type in the question and answer chat box, and I will try to answer them as much as possible. What are the options for migration help for nonprofits? So obviously, when you have decided to move to migrate to Lightning, as I told you, you need to understand if there is an option in your team who can actually help you do that, or you can involve people who have done that before. But when you are deciding to hire a third party consultant or a third party vendor or any help external needed, always validate that they have done that work before. Maybe ask for some use cases or any examples that they have done for any of their clients to move to Lightning, and maybe get that feedback from the client if possible. Right. But the options are, obviously you will have to have a technical team in place to move your classic stuff to Lightning. Don't do it alone. Always take help from someone who has actually done that before, right? Because otherwise it would be a tedious process and you will be lost in between, because it's not so easy as it seems. But if you follow a proper framework and do these steps and do your homework before migration, I think that will help. Few more questions. Mm, I don't think so. We have any more questions. So thank you all for attending this webinar. And again, if you need any help in this, you will have this PPT and we have our details in it. You are always welcome to come to us for any guidance that you need, and we may be able to help you in the right direction. I think we have one more question. Oh, I'm very sorry if I missed this, but what is the deadline for the switch? We exactly don't know at this point of time on what is the deadline for the switch, right? But at some point of time, classic support will not be available with Salesforce. Salesforce has not yet decided that and has not made it public, but you can always check that on their website and we'll let you know. But if you are on classic, my recommendation would be that it's always better to shift to the newer version before they switch it, right? Because that will give you ample time to adapt to the new system, right? And make your users comfortable on the new system. So never do things at the last minute, but maybe take a step before that and be proactive on it. That is what we tell our clients as well. Uh, I think we can wait for some more time, maybe see if there are any other more questions. I don't think so. We have any more questions. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I hope this would have proved useful, and we will be having more webinars on this topic where we will go in much more details about what things you should do at a detailed level on the migration stuff, right? Till then, take care, goodbye, and have a great day. Bye.